And we are live, which is awesome because that was the goal, and here we are. Welcome, everyone. This is Goal Chat Live. I'm Debra Eckerling, the author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the Deb Method. And I'm so excited because today I'm chatting with my fellow Mango author, Tim Tamashiro. And Tim is the author of How to Ikigai.
That's right.
And it's I am, those who know me know I'm all about you need your mission, you need your purpose, you need that North Star, that thing that is driving you. And usually I say things like mission and mottos for the beginning of the year. But if you've been following me, you know that I started 2021 on December 1st because who couldn't use a running start into the new year?
Right.
And so today, normally my first goal chat of the new year is mission and mottos. So last week we had our virtual holiday party, and this week we're talking to Tim about because really you want to set your year right. You want to set the tone. It starts with the whole mission and purpose. So Tim, I did not introduce you well enough. So why don't you tell everybody more
Oh,
about
you
you
did.
other than we're author pals and we think alike, but what else do people need to know?
Oh, you did a lovely job introducing me. Thanks, Deb. Yes, Tim Tamashiro. I'm a Canadian author, actually, and I write about a topic called Ikigai, which is a philosophy, a lifestyle that comes from Okinawa, Japan. It's been around for 2,000 years. It's basically what it boils down to is what your life is worth, and the reason why you get out of bed every day. The beautiful thing about Ikigai is, you know how most people have a tough time understanding what purpose is in their life? Ikigai provides a map. And there are 4 steps to the Ikigai process, I guess you could say. And that's to do what you love, do what you're good at, do what the world needs, and do what you can be rewarded for. And when you can do all 4 of those things, it's kind of like a confluence that meets together in like a little magical spot, and that gives you a lot more purpose and meaning. And when you wake up in the morning, you just know what your work is.
That's just it's amazing. And part of why it's amazing, yes, I'm going to bring it back to me, but I'm doing it in a way that makes sense because the D in the Deb method is determine your mission, because without that you're really like you're wandering when you look inside yourself, and I call it Goaltopia, that place in your life
That's awesome.
where you're thank you where you're living the life you want and living your goals. And okay, this is the life I want, but you can't get there unless you know what you want, and more importantly you need that mission, that purpose.
Mhm.
So and I actually heard you speak on another Mango panel with my friend Nita, our friend Nita Sweeney, who is
Yeah.
actually right in the audience. So hi, Nita.
Hi.
Glad we can watch. It's your fault that Tim is on Go Chat Live today. Uh, but it's really you have to start with that first bit. So tell us, how did you get into Ikigai? What was that path?
Well, in my particular case, I had a very, very strong sense of wanting to do meaningful things in my life. And, when I look back on it now, I was a probably 21-year-old young man at the time where I was just, getting the best jobs that I could that just paid the most, so to speak, and thinking that's what life was supposed to be all about. But I wondered one day, is it possible to have a life that is meaningful and to actually earn a living from it, but to get more joy from it than anything? And that's when I said, "Oh, I'm gonna start chasing music because I'm a musician as well. I'm a jazz singer, so I'm not a real musician." See what I did there?
I
Uh,
did.
but the fascinating thing about that is that there was still something in me, my DNA, that was going, do meaning, do meaning, do meaning. And it wasn't until, years later when I found out about Ikigai that it came from Okinawa, Japan. And that's where my paternal grandparents were born. They were born right in Okinawa. And since, Ikigai's been around for 2,000 years, I'm thinking, there must be just part of my DNA, maybe. And so there's this kind of this energy force, I guess, in me that just goes, do what you love and do what you're good at every day. See how that helps people and accept their thanks and get that reward. Do that little boomerang over and over and over again. So that's what I've really concentrated on my entire life. Certainly have had a great deal of different jobs as well, but my jobs have always been like outrageously fun. I started off working in a record store, and then I became a major label record rep for MCA Records. So now here I am working with Peter Gabriel and Guns N' Roses and all these people, and then ended up being a jazz musician, and then ended up again beyond that being on the radio. I got to host a radio show right across Canada for 10 and a half years, I guess. And so it's always been about meaning for me. In fact, that's why I left the radio show, is because I wanted to find out more about what meaning and Ikigai is all about.
Wow, that's such a good story. And and the reason, and I believe we've discussed this as well, the reason I wrote your goal guide is because I too believe everybody should love some, if not all, of their life. Find that thing. I didn't realize it was Ikigai, but find that thing that you love, and then find a way to build your life around it, or build it into your life. So, and I have to say, Nita wants to know if you will sing something for us.
Oh, well, we'll see what I can pull out. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so stick around. We may have some singing later, and you're welcome. It will not be from me.
Come now.
I am a much better backup singer, and by backup singer, I mean backup dancer. That trust me, we're all good. It's good. We're happy. So it's amazing to me, because Ikigai is kind of, even though it's 2,000 years old, it's something that's like growing in popularity right now.
Yeah, and it's
why? I mean, I know why, but why don't you tell us why you think it is?
Well, for one thing, the analogy that I kind of bring along, that there's a bit of a similarity between Ikigai and karate. Karate came from Okinawa as well. We've known this since just after the Second World War. In fact, karate wasn't even known at all in the Western world before the Second World War. What had happened is that there was a big, massive battle in Okinawa, the Americans against the Japanese. It was an awful battle. Ultimately, Americans ended up winning that battle, and they kind of took over the island. And that's when they started learning about karate for the very, very first time. So servicemen would be out there learning about karate, and they thought, this is really, really cool. I'm going to take this back to the States and teach it to people. And then it kind of spread like wildfire. What I'm hoping with Ikigai especially is that maybe it can do the same sort of thing as what karate has. We all want some sort of a way that we can understand, or that is viable, in order to be able to get out there and to understand what our own purpose is in life. And I love those 4 directions: of do what you love, do what you're good at, do what the world needs, and do what you can be rewarded for. What I really encourage people to do way sooner than that is just focus on just exploring. That's the one thing that, I don't know if you agree with this, Deb, but when we were going to school, we kind of went through the system, and we made our way through the grades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we got to high school, and we graduated from high school. And then the very first question that people started asking us was, especially the grown-ups, they'd go, what are you gonna do now? And it's like, seriously, at 17 or 18 years old, without having gathered any evidence, we're going to make a decision based on a guess, or if we're going to go to university, or if we're just going to go and get a series of jobs, or we're going to go on a gap year. We don't really have a lot of information. So that's why I really encourage people to explore the world and do all the things that they want to do. And essentially what will happen out of that is you'll end up getting a little short list of the things that you do love and the things that you are good at. And that is half Ikigai, what I call half Ikigai anyways. That's this, once you kind of gather the evidence, every scientific or researched exploration thing in the entire world has been based on evidence. So that's what meaning has to be based on as well.
I am completely with you on everything except for the fact that I always knew that I wanted to be a writer. I
That's
was
great.
that I was that kid who was always writing notes and telling stories. But what's interesting about my story is growing up, I loved making up stories, writing fiction. And then I studied journalism in college,
Hmm.
and I was I love this part of my story. I wrote a screenplay. This is back when I was living in Chicago because I thought it would be fun. I was
Hmm.
working at Barnes and Noble, and doing some freelancing or trying to do freelancing. And then I got my freelance writing break literally a week after finishing my first screenplay. And the nonfiction, I didn't realize how much I loved it, but those were
Mm.
the opportunities that came to me. And from there, I started my goal group and I started helping people, figure out what they want and how to get it. And my progression has
Sure.
been like the most ridiculously awesome natural progression that's taken a very long time. But I love the exploring part because one of
Hmm.
the things that I talk about, so mine is determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. So
Hmm.
what I say at the beginning of my book is if you don't know your mission, jump to chapter 6, which is directed journaling, where you're exploring your options. So it's saying if you don't know, then jump ahead and then jump back and then use that kind of exploration to
Hmm.
figure out your purpose, your being, what it is you want and why you want it. So the other thing that I've found is a lot of people, especially now they've got a little extra time. It is well, if you're not by extra time, I mean if you used to commute and you don't commute anymore, what are you doing
That's a lot
with
of
that
extra
drive
time for a lot of
time?
people, right?
That
Yeah.
even if you use like one or two of that extra time each day, whether it's exploring or pursuing, it's going to be helping you. But what I like to ask people is, what was it when you were young that you loved doing that
Hmm.
you kind of forgot about?
Yeah, for sure. And that's, instinctually, kids know what their work is to do. Like when you're born, you know exactly what it is you're supposed to do. As a toddler, you're supposed to be, or as a baby, an infant, you're to be. And as a toddler, you're supposed to do, you're supposed to experiment things, et cetera, et cetera. There are all these little stages of childhood that we have identified and we know what it is that we're supposed to do. The biggest challenge is that when we become adults is that we don't really have a good understanding of what we can do. But Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, made some interesting observations, saying that we have 4 stages of adulthood as well. And that means that there's the athlete, whether you're a young person, it's all about your beauty and your body and your physical capabilities. That is the first stage of adulthood. The next stage is called the warrior. And that's where you literally just kind of go out and you kind of go, well, you know what? I know what I'm capable of doing physically, but there's something else in this world that I can really kick butt on. And I'm going to be the winner at that. It's an extraordinary time frame of life. The one that comes after that, and this may be where I'm at right now too, Deb, is the senator. This stage is where I know what I'm capable of doing, and I can do it over and over and over again. But my concern is to say, Deb, what is it that I can help you achieve? And the stage that's after that is called the spirit, and that's just where you're kind of wondering, what is next? I mean, is there a life after death? What is next ultimately? But what I love about having all these different stages of adulthood is that it helps you understand where you're at, and you can deal with it with full evidence of where you're at. You know, so chances are there's a lot of warriors out there in the world right now that are really itchy because of all this stuff that's happening as far as COVID, because it's not necessarily helping them achieve their goals. But thankfully, there's a lot of senators out there too that are kind of going, it's okay. The goals, you can still achieve your goals and you can still do all the things that you want to do. Just be patient.
Or do them a little differently?
Oh yeah, or do them differently. That's a very good point. You're the goals expert, of course.
Well, I'm always looking for. Well, I feel like I'm jumping ahead, which is fine because my show. But my motto is goal setting simplified. So I'm always
Mhm.
looking for those interesting little workarounds because the first step really in finding your goals, your passion, your ikigai is to say, okay, I'm going to do it. I am going to give myself the time, the permission, the energy to explore because I know that there's more for me out there.
Yeah.
And this goes to Nita's question is, did you do exploration when you were in your, what sort of exploration did you do?
Yeah, I've done all sorts of explorations and I've never said no to anything that I've always been curious about as well. So it could be art, it could be, for example, I'm just learning animation now so that I can build better videos and that sort of stuff. But one of the best years of my entire life is when I wrapped up as a broadcaster and I took what I called my Ikigap year. And so for the entire year, literally, I just said, I'm going to do absolutely everything that comes up. Whatever people ask me to do, I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to have different, adventures and that kind of stuff. And it started off with a bang, singing in front of 400 people, doing all this crazy stuff for Canada Day. And then I went and saw the full eclipse in Oregon. And then I was supposed to go and build houses with my family in Dominican Republic, but we got hurricaned out. So we went to Japan instead. I went to Okinawa. And then one of the other things that popped up was I did a TED Talk, and a little bit later in the year, I got invited to go in an icebreaker and go across the top north part of Canada, the Northwest Passage, from Kugluktuk to Tuktoyaktuk. Like, so it was literally that year of exploration. And ultimately, that was the time where I just came to realize that all of these experiences all tied in the most beautiful way, because I love to connect with people in every single one of those. And that's where I came to the realization that my own personal Ikigai is to delight. I love to wake up in the morning and just delight whoever I can in every simple possibility or every complex possibility, whether it's on a screen or whether it's singing on a stage or whether it's just having a nice chat with my friend Deb. I just want to find ways to just delight people. And that's it.
I love that so much. And we talked about this offline because I think my Ikigai is to motivate.
Good. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. And it's up to you to decide whatever your Ikigai is. And if you feel like motivation to motivate people every single day in every possible way, boy, that's an exciting feeling, isn't it? Deb, I often describe Ikigai as a jewel. Okay. So if it was a big diamond that's sitting right here and all of a sudden I go, okay, you can do all sorts of things with your Ikigai, but the jewel has so many facets. Every single one of those facets shines light through that jewel. So go ahead, attack it in any way you want and just do it in as many ways as you can.
Well, I do, and you do too. And we're gonna get to hear you sing, but later, because we need to talk about mission. Yeah, did you forget? I didn't forget. Nita, who's watching, didn't forget.
That's funny.
So would you say your mission is also to delight, or do you put your mission different than purpose?
I think my mission is to just Ikigai today. And then when I wake up tomorrow, I Ikigai tomorrow too. I think that's really what my mission is. And but I think the process or my reason for being is to delight.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Well, it does, because obviously the Gold Chat Live is every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on Twitter. I do a Gold Chat Twitter chat, and obviously I could not do Ikigai as a Twitter chat because all I would get is question marks, and maybe you. So that's why I thought Ikigai would make a great conversation as an offshoot, because the Gold Chat Live is to go a little bit deeper. So let's go through the questions from last night's Twitter chat a little bit, because I believe there's so many parallels, and it's so powerful, because if you know what you want, you can get what you want. I
clarity.
say that
Imagine, right?
Right. Because if you don't, and you were talking about your Ikigap year, which is, by the way, I make up words, you make up words. It's awesome. I think that is going to be my favorite phrase, because I feel like a lot of people, if they looked at this time right now as their Ikigap year, they would really be able to be handling the stress a little bit better. Or even like December is the Ikigap month. It's not what
Mm.
December normally is,
Hmm.
but that's okay if you embrace it for being something else. It's a lot easier to handle than saying things aren't normal. It's terrible. Say, oh, things aren't normal, but I can do this now
Yeah.
where I couldn't before.
Yeah. It's all about headspace and context, isn't it? Yeah.
Definitely.
Hmm.
So, why do you feel having a mission is so important?
Because if you don't have a mission, then you just kind of put on a blindfold and just walk through life. It's. I think there's so many people that are in that boat, and we're almost prescribed the type of life we live by the type of parents that we have, and by the influence of our religious organizations, and by school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all within, I would say, it's kind of like a bowling alley with those safety rails. You know what I mean? And whereas
I always
you know
need the rails. I always need the rails. I gutter ball all the time, but yes.
But for
Go
life,
ahead.
we put ourselves within those rails. A lot of us do,
Mhm.
Yet, if we think outside of the box and we just go and do all the things that we're absolutely fascinated by, we're going to come up with some sort of a list of things that we just love to do, and we can do those in our jobs every day, but we can also do them in our time after work. I often say that we have a 9 to 5 every day as far as a job is concerned, but we also have a 5 to 9 that we can do whatever we want with. And if we can bring ourselves and our mission to both sides of that equation, that's 12 hours a day that we just get to be ourselves.
Isn't that awesome? I'm
Hmm.
I'm totally with you on that. So I'm revising my statement because I would be bowling in other people's lanes,
Yeah, why not?
right? Well,
Why not? Yeah.
well, the bowling alley is my goal oyster. I don't know, but exactly. You think that this is the life you're supposed to have. You go through and then you're like, why am I unfulfilled?
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of it, a lot of people tend to just go out and get the best paying job that they can get to take care of their own kind of physical needs. Although, according to so much research, that amount of money, anything over and above $70,000, actually doesn't bring you any more well-being or happiness, according to
Really,
research, anyways.
that
Yeah,
makes sense.
basically what they say is that if you make 75 or 125 or $300,000, your happiness, your base level happiness level, doesn't change. It's all kind of based on where you are at personally, as far as understand how you embrace life and how you live your life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you go out there and you buy a fancy new Mercedes Benz, yeah, you get a little bit of a happiness spike, but the spike doesn't last very long before you're back down at base level happiness. What does increase happiness are things like acts of kindness, and doing what's something called time affluence, which it means that you're time rich and you give yourself the permission to do all the things that you want to do. You don't put in the extra hours at the office because you're too busy working on yourself. So that means that you're time rich. Ultimately, that's what it boils down to. And spending time with people that you adore and you cherish, those things really do increase your base level of happiness. And it has a trajectory that goes up and up and up and up and up.
Okay, did you say time affluence?
Time affluence. That's right. Isn't that
Okay.
beautiful?
Yeah, I love it. I'm putting in the chat because I want to make sure that this goes in the recap because that's so important. So acts of kindness and time affluence increase your
Mhm.
happiness.
Yeah, and other things as well. Well, I mean, healthy habits. Meditation, getting out and having a walk, eating good food, that sort of stuff. Meditation helps with goal setting and for making things happen so beautifully, because it reduces rather rewires your fear center at the base of your skull and your chicken brain, and it
Mm-hmm.
rewires it to deal with it in the most powerful part of your entire head, which is the prefrontal cortex. And so, I mean, all these little things may seem a little overwhelming for a lot of people, but they actually do help with well-being and Ikigai, as a matter of fact, as well.
Well, you're going to laugh because remember, December's January.
Oh, yes.
Next week, the topic is healthy habits.
Perfect. I love that.
And Elise Marie Collins, another Mango, is going to be joining me next week. And so I love that you teed that up. And obviously you didn't know this, which makes it even better. It's that whole, the balance. And I love what you were saying. Your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9 should bring you the same kind of Ikigai, the kind of joy. And what I would say is,
can bring you.
It can bring you.
Yeah.
And if your 9 to 5 doesn't bring you, then your 5 to 9 should bring you.
Well, the 5 to 9 is the opportunity to maybe do some sort of a side hustle. Mm-hmm. But perhaps what the interesting thing about a side hustle, though, Deb, when you think about it, why you do a side hustle is because it is more you. Right? And you do the side hustle in hopes that maybe it can turn into your full-time hustle. Right?
Yes. Well,
and so the interesting thing that I find is that, when in terms of, bringing more of yourself to every day, there's a way that you can just bring more of you to your job as well, and just inject some of the things that you love to do into your work. Don't even ask for permission. Just start doing them and watch how the engagement at work changes, and watch how people see you, and watch how they are going, wow, I'm so glad that Deb brought that to the office. And it's pretty astounding.
It's really, I love that you said that. And part of it is because I do communications work. I work with clients, my entire life, although it seems like it's goals 24/7, there are a couple other things that I do, but when I approach it as this is me being me, the genuine me, you're right. It all falls into that whole pile that is Deb, the communicator, the motivator. So I love that.
Good.
I really love how you phrase that, because it's so important. And then maybe you don't love your job, but when you infuse more of yourself into your job, you're going to love it more. It's all a part of making your life the best it can be, because you get the one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there's the phrase, there is a phrase that's about bringing more of yourself to your job. It's called job crafting. And that means that if you're doing something in engineering or whatever the case, but what you really love to do is you love to put together events for people and whatnot. Maybe there's a way that you can bring that into your role at the engineering firm. And there's a million ways you can look at it, right? If you love to do art, maybe there's a way that you can do some art within your job. If you love to do volunteering, maybe you can start a volunteer organization at your job as well. And that's what I mean. It's just about bringing more of yourself to your job.
Well, we can sit here and agree all day, but I think we should just move on a little bit, because I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk more about this, because I'm totally okay. So why do you feel, because I was looking into this before Gold Chat last night, is in what way is mission different than purpose? Do you have thoughts on that?
I have to think about that a little bit. I mean, like I say, purpose is the reason why you get out of bed. I'm sure that mission may have just a little bit more of a how. I don't know. I'm just so driven on the whole idea of purpose and Ikigai that mission definitely does have a place in that. I just haven't really thought about how.
Okay.
So that's the best non-answer you're going to get all day.
No, it's totally fine. Because I feel like purpose, that's the drive behind your mission. Your mission works so the way I go through it in the Deb method is, it starts with for determining your mission, it starts with visualization. What does your Goaltopia look like? Your current bio, where you are now, your future bio, where you want to go. Then you go into your mission statement. In what way do you take your background, your skills, the things that you love, that you're good at, what do you want to do with them, and how does it help others? See? And so that's where you've got the purpose is the driving force behind it.
And you just nailed something just that is so important is, what is it about your Ikigai or about your purpose that helps others? It has to be a two-way street there. You can't, it's really difficult to do Ikigai if you're not getting the feedback that it's worthwhile to other people as well. And when you think about every single business that's out there, and I'm talking every single business, every one of them is based on the fact that they're doing something in order to help other people, every single one. And so, I love the fact that, I just thought of something about that mission and purpose, kind of, what do you call it? Like a difference, I guess. I often say that, so like I say, I'm a singer, but I also love to do marketing, and I have a real head for understanding how events come together and all this other kind of stuff. And it's not about what it is, it's about how those things serve my Ikigai. So if I love to do marketing, I use marketing in order to be able to serve my ability to go out and to delight people. Right? Or if I love putting events together, I can put events together really, really quickly and help people and to serve people. So it's all in service of the Ikigai, I guess.
Okay, and great. And because that also goes to my question, which is, what is your mission? Which you pretty much just answered, but you're more than welcome to. Do you have a specific mission or mission statement for yourself?
I don't. I basically have something that's more like a kind of an elevator kind of description of what it is that I do. And when people ask me what it is that I do, if they're just complete total strangers, I just really want to plant it deep in their head. I just go, well, you know how most people have a hard time understanding what their life's purpose is? Well, I'm the author of a book that has a map to do it, and it's called Ikigai. So that's all it boils down to.
And so really because backing up. So after you have your visualization and the who you are now, who you want to be, your mission statement, then I have people boil it down to a motto. And your motto is your Ikigai, which is to delight.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking about it even further, and maybe I haven't said this before, but my mission really is to make sure that Ikigai just gets spread far and wide, and that maybe it does even become like a household word at some point in time. And it becomes a tool that people can rely on in order to be able to bring more meaning and well-being into their lives.
That's wonderful. Whereas my mission is to help as many people as possible figure out what they want and how to get it in a form that is goal setting simplified, which I mentioned before. And I feel in a lot of ways like Ikigai is what people need before they get to my book. So it's like you're part one.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with having a goal of finding your Ikigai. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Well, I think everyone should, because you need to. And I was telling you before, I was interviewed last week, and now I'm thinking the guy should probably interview you as well. But one of the things that I was talking about was the value of joy. You should be doing the thing that you love, and if you can't do it in part of your life, if you can't do it in all of your life, it should be in part of your life. But finding the joy, the Ikigai, the delight, letting it infuse everything that you do, you're going to be happier. The people around you are going to be happier. And Goldtopia is going to be that much closer.
Yeah. I'm careful of that word should or shouldn't. A wise man told me once to stop shooting on people, and I loved that, the visual of that, because it does imply that we know better than the person knows themselves. I think more than anything, Deb, I think it's possible that if you make the commitment to be able to understand yourself better, to self-actualize, then that brings more meaning to your life than anything.
make the commitment to figure out what brings you joy, what motivates you, what you can Ikigai unto the world.
Yeah.
I know, I'm using your word totally wrong. That's okay. It's that word, that commitment, that I think is really one of the most important lessons, if you're watching, that I think just take hold. It's that commitment to say, I need to figure out what drives me. So I am able to bestow my best self onto the world, or something like that.
That's right. And if you'd go back to what we were talking about, the 4 stages of adulthood, Ikigai
Mm-hmm.
can be a part of all 4 of those stages. But the longer that you understand, or the longer that you commit to understanding more about yourself and what brings you joy and what helps others, the longer it has to kind of mature and get more delicious and more flavorful and bring even more meaning and more clarity throughout your entire life. So start early.
Do you have any other advice for someone who's wandering and saying, "Oh, that sounds all well and good, but come on, really?" What do you say to that person?
Well, they get to make whatever choice they want to make. I'm not going to change their mind. Either Ikigai resonates with them and they see this is a worthwhile tool, or they don't. So I'm not going to try to convince somebody into doing something that they're against. And at the same time, though, maybe there's something else that they're looking for besides Ikigai. Maybe they're looking for connection, or they're looking for understanding, or they're looking for deeper understanding of their childhood, or whatever. There's obviously lots of different missions in the world, I guess.
Our friend Nita would like to know what you think about commitment.
I think commitment is absolutely paramount. Especially in terms of relationships and getting things done. I'm like you, Deb. I like to have big check marks right beside the tasks. I like to go, yes, I did it, and it's all done, so to speak. But in terms of Ikigai, I can say that my own experience with Ikigai requires a lot of commitment, because I know what it is that it provides for me, and especially to others. One of the things that's driving me absolutely crazy right now is I usually do something this time of the year in order to be able to raise a bunch of money for our local food bank. But this year I can't do it because we can't go out in front of people. I'm just kind of racking my brain, but that doesn't mean I'm giving up. I still want to see if there's some sort of a way that I can raise some funds for the food bank. But that's a commitment that I made 20 years ago. We've raised probably a couple $100,000, so it's really made a big difference for a lot of people's lives. And I've never met one of those people, but I know that's happening because the food bank always runs out of food every year.
So what are you going to do?
I have a couple of little tricks up my sleeves. I might see if I can do something that is revolving around some cookies called Tim Tams, and want to send some cookies out into the world and say, here's some Tim Tams. If you enjoy these, just imagine how much people would enjoy other treats at Christmas time as well. Please make a donation to the food bank or whatever. I mean, I can do all sorts of things, but it just means just dropping it off on people's steps and see where it goes from there. We'll see what I can pull out, but I'm committed to doing something.
And you're committed to delight as you bring awareness to this need.
Yeah.
And it all centers around that whole you.
Yeah.
What you stand for.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's exactly it.
And that's really when you're true to yourself, you're genuine, and when you know yourself, know thyself, it's much easier to find solutions, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. I totally agree.
Well, I think now you should sing.
Should?
Oh my goodness. I am going to totally
Oh, that's funny. I just caught you. I'm
Every
gonna.
time I say that word now, I'm going to step back. Now I have to rephrase something. I believe it would be awesome if everybody has joy in some, if not all of their life. I have to completely rewire my brain. I'm going to start obsessing about this.
I wonder
Thank
if
you so
I
much.
was wondering if I had some tracks that I could sing to, but I don't. I can't think of how I can get to my tracks and make it work with this thing. But I'll. Here's one that you might recognize from childhood. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black peel. That's my Grinch smile.
That was amazing.
Oh, thank you. It's just what I could do. Here, high five. High five.
That was, to use your word, delightful. To use
Good.
my word, awesome. And that's really, do you have any other final thoughts? And I know you don't like the word should. I can
It's not that I
respect
don't
that.
like it. It's not that I don't like it. I've just made a commitment to stop using it.
Okay,
I
well
just,
that's
I just don't.
my
I'm not
bonus score.
choosing that, and that's a commitment that I've made just for myself, right? So here's what I can tell you.
Yes.
Um, I just believe in my heart of hearts that everybody in this world yearns for purpose. And the more time that we kind of spend on ourselves selfishly, and when I say selfish, I don't mean like really kind of greedily or whatever. I mean self-ish. It's going to benefit you, but in the meantime, it's also going to benefit a lot of other people. The more time that you can put into yourself and to learning more about yourself and to do more you, that is going to pay off in benefits for years and years and years to come. So the earlier you start doing it, the faster you're going to start really being true to yourself.
So do more you should be the bonus goal. Don't
Do
you
more
think?
you is the battle cry of Ikigai. In fact, that's what. So I'm starting a podcast in January. It's called "Do More You," and it's literally about the unicorns of the world who just know exactly what the reason is they're going to get out of bed every day, and they just go and do it. And every single one of these people does it because they know it brings something, some sort of benefit to other people.
That's perfect. What a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining us today to talk about Ikigai and purpose and delighting. There we go. Delighting. And your links are in the comments. The link to your book, the link to your website, which is howtoikigai.com.
Mm-hmm.
I can put the banner up as we wrap. And if you want to read the recap, go to thedebmethod.com/blog, and you can rewatch this and get some key points across. If you want to learn more about me, that's where to find me as well. I'm at the Deb Method everywhere. And yourgoalguidebook.com will take you to learn more about your goal guide. So thank you again, Tim, so much for joining me today to talk about mission, purpose, and Ikigai. And if you're watching, thank you so much. Please share in the comments your mission, your Ikigai, any tips that you have to help others find their own purpose. We would love that. In the meantime, please join me for Goal Chat on Twitter every Sunday at 7 p.m. And I will be back next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on the Mango Publishing Facebook page to have another wonderful guest and another fantastic Goal Chat Live. So thank you again, Tim. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Have a great week, everyone. And remember, you can do it.
See ya.